In topic A, we will look at the different types of restores in a little bit more detail. So we look at the different types of restores available in Azure SQL Database. We will start with a point-in-time restore. In the world of SQL Server, point-in-time restore isn't new. On-premises SQL Server allow you to restore a database to a particular point in time by specifying the point in time option when you restore the database using the restore database command. Now, as we know, the restore command isn't supported in Azure SQL Database. The backup database command isn't supported, neither is the restore command. But point in time restores can be performed using the Azure Portal, PowerShell, the Azure Command Line, or the Azure SDK. Now, the point-in-time restore will utilize the automatic backups that the Azure platform implements for us. The SQL database can be restored anytime within the retention period, which on standard tier is 35 days. On basic, it is 7. The database can only be restored on the same Azure SQL Server as the original. This is one of the limitations of Azure SQL Database. The restore can only be performed on the server in which the original database came from. If you're restoring a database using point-in-time restore to recover from a corruption issue and you wish to use the restored database as the production database, you will need to rename the database accordingly. So point-in-time restores is particularly useful for recovering from unexpected data modifications, corrupted databases, or for getting databases into a previous state for, say, application testing or debugging a particular issue. In this demonstration, we will be performing a point-in-time restore on an Azure SQL database using the Azure Portal. Now, I have opened up Management Studio and I have connected to my ToyStore SQL SQL Server using Management Studio. And I've opened up a SQL script that you can find in the code lesson 4 folder, and the script is called insert new color. And I'm just going to, once I'm in here, make sure the database context is changed to ToyStore. Okay, and I'm going to click on execute, and that inserts a new row into the colors table. You can see that from the output we have got dark yellow has been inserted. Now, I want to undo this data modification. I want to undo this delete. Let's just try it one more time for luck. Violation of primary key when I execute it twice. That's fair enough. Okay. So I've inserted a new row and I now want to restore my database to undo that data modification. So to do this, I will log in to the Azure Portal using the credentials from my subscription. And then in the left-hand pane, I'm going to go to All Resources. And then I'm going to click on the Azure SQL database I want to perform the point-in-time restore to. So I'm going to choose ToyStore SQL. From the overview page here, I'm going to click on Restore the database. When the restore pane opens, we will be able to see things like the oldest restore point, and we can specify the date you want to perform the point-in-time restore to. So you can see there the database name has got database name plus the date and time. So you can see there I'm recovering to, this is in UTC, so I'm actually on British Summer Time when I'm recording this, so you can see that hour in front of where I'm at. I'm going to set this on UTC time to be back to, say, 15:20, about 15 minutes ago. Okay, we can change that name if we want to, but for the purpose of this will be fine. You also note the option to select the Azure SQL Server is locked out. Okay, so it can only be done on the original server, and we touched on that earlier on. And then I'm going to click on OK at the bottom here to start my database restore. So essentially choose the point in time, choose the date and time you want to restore to. The other thing to note there, the oldest point in time I can go back to is the 28th of the 7th, which is when I created this database in the first place. Okay, and it's on standard tier, so I will get 35 days worth of retention. So I'm going to click on OK to fire up the restore. The length of time the restore takes will depend on the size of your database, but you will get a notification saying the restore has completed successfully. Now, once the restore has completed successfully, I'm going to click on All Resources again, and we can see there I've now got an additional database called ToyStore, and then the date and time I performed the restore to. Now I can switch to Management Studio here. I'll open up a new query window, this time against the Toy Store and the Restore Date database. And if I run my query now, you can see that the previous insert has been removed because we've restored the database. If you wanted the restored database to replace your existing production database, so for example you wanted it to take the name Toy Store, you would need to either rename or drop Toy Store and then rename the restored database with the date timestamp to match the old database name. Alternatively, you could run some datafix scripts to update the data in Toy Store using the restored copy of the Toy Store database. So in the previous demo, we looked at recovering our databases to a point in time using the automatic backups that are part of Azure SQL Database. Long-term database restore allow you to restore a database configured for longer-term backups. Now, backups are kept in the Azure Recovery Vault. A long-term database restore will use the same techniques as the point-in-time restore to restore the database. However, you can restore a database from the last 10 years if you've got 10 years worth of data. So in this demo, we're going to perform a long-term restore on an Azure SQL database using the Azure portal. So I'm already logged into the portal here, and then on the left-hand side, I'm going to select All Resources. Then I'm going to click on the Azure SQL database I want to perform a point-in-time restore from using the storage vault. So I'm going to click my Toy Store database there. Okay, and then from the Toy Store database section, I'm going to click on Restore. And then I'm going to change my source here to be a long-term backup retention. Okay, and then I get to select a backup. So I'm going to go back to one I took on the 30th of July. The target server option and standard tiers are going to remain the same. I'm going to change the database name here and leave that the same as well. And I'm going to click on OK to start the restore process. You just specify a different location. And you can see there in the notification section, we're restoring database using the long-term retention. And we can see there the database restore is completed. I'm going to click on All Resources again. And we can see there I've got a new database dated the 30th of July. I'm going to go to my connection in SQL Server Management Studio and I'm going to refresh the databases folder so we can see the long-term restored database. I'm going to click on it, I'm going to choose New, and I'm going to use the same query as I used previously. So it's just a select from the colors table just to show that the color insert's not in there. And this database has been restored from the vault using our long-term retention policy as opposed to the automatic backups in Azure SQL Database.